Semitic Magic, Its Origins and Development by R. Campbell Thompson. We're into Chapter 2, Demoniac Possession and Tabu. In the previous chapter, we have seen how all forms of devils and spectres exist in the minds of the Semites. And the next step in succession is the question of demoniac possession and its relation to the taboo. This latter word, borrowed from anthropologists from Polynesia, is used to define that peculiar band which savages, well, spiritually advanced people probably, lay on certain actions or states from an idea of either inherent holiness or uncleanliness connected with them. That is, the principle of taboo actually existed among all the Semites in its full savage force. At one time or another requires no discussion, for its presence has long been recognized not only in the literature of these ancient nations, but also in the customs of the modern nomad Arab tribes. It is obvious from a comparison between their laws and those of the more savage races which have not attained that pitch of civilization which admits of a veneer to cover over their primitive customs. And in the 1800s, there was this phrase, the savage philosopher. And the savage philosopher was one that had spiritual ideas that were multi-generational. To the point where some of them couldn't have occurred in one generation. But the reason why taboo existed demands the most searching scrutiny into the early records of folklore, and it may be that Semitic literatures, despite of its civilized polish, may help in places where the customs of so-called savage races offer no clue to their origin. In the discussion of this question, the first point to be considered is the view that the Semites held in the origin of disease. The cuneiform tablets, again, earlier than anything that we yet possess on the subject, at least in a comparatively unedited form, afford the most valuable evidence of all, and we shall approach the fundamentals more nearly through the Assyrian exorcisms than by other means. Like the Gahtaya list is an example of exorcisms that I've developed based on tradition. By gradual and successive pieces of evidence drawn from all the series of cuneiform spells which are quoted in the introduction, it will appear clear. I think that the object of these incantations was to heal people suffering from disease, which will be seen to be only another name for spirit obsession in its widest sense, and that such people, by the very reason of their sickness, were presumed to have incurred a breach of taboo. Well, let's not get too gospel prosperity upon us. Ease and hardship aren't necessarily signs of punishment or reward in themselves like that. With the simpler literature of the cuneiform tablets before us, it should be possible to unravel the more elaborate mysticism of the later Semites, and hence the first task is to deduce therefrom such of the Semitic superstitions of the disease as will afford a base from which to go afield. No one can read much of the incantation literature of the Syrians without recognizing how sickness was ascribed to the attacks of jinn or spirits of different forms. Naturally, it is not only to demons that sickness is primarily due. The entities, of course, are considered omnipotent in this respect. Ishtar curses Gilgamesh after he slays her divine bull and is smitten with a sore sickness, doubtless in consequence. And, to quote one instance out of many from the medical text, when a man is smitten on his neck, it is the hand of a god, When he is smitten on the neck and his breast hurts him, it is the hand of Ishtar on the necklace. S. 951. Joshua the Stylite puts the matter quite tersely, referring to the year of Alexander. And as all the people had sinned, all of them were smitten with the plague. See Exodus 8:19. That is the finger of God. It is apparent from this incantation to the star Mushtabaru Mutanu. Evil fiends are they from the underworld. They have gone forth. They are the messengers of Bel, Lord of the world, the evil spirit that in the desert smiteth the living man, the evil demon that like a cloak enshroudeth the man, the evil ghost, the evil devil that seize upon the body, the hag demon and ghoul that smite the body with sickness, the phantom of night, Alu, that in the desert roameth abroad, and the side of the wanderer, have drawn nigh, casting a woeful fever. Upon his body, a ban of evil hath settled on his body, an evil disease on his body they have cast, an evil plague hath settled on his body, an evil venom on his body they have cast, an evil curse hath settled on his body, evil sin on his body they have cast, venom and wickedness have settled upon him. Incantation. O Mushtabaru Mutanu, great Lord, merciful God, that taketh the hands of the brave, who looseth charms, that extolled, that give life to men, to the man. I, Shamash, Shum Ukin, servant of his entity, thy slave, mourn, groan, sigh. A violent sickness, a fire, the seizure of this entity. An evil sickness, an Utuku demon, fever in my body, a baneful disease with me. On my couch of mourning I called thee, against some entity known or unknown. I've committed a sin, or have risen in rebellion. I fear I am afraid of the glory of the face of thy divinity, thy greatness. May the water of my grief reach thee, that the anger of thy heart be appeased. And some are going to say that they don't worship the sun by and such by these. They worship entities of these things, which there's good reason to think that, because there's actual reference some places of things like this, that the sun and the moon are actually different from this. Even saints in modern Arabic belief can inflict sickness as a punishment. According to Curtis